Yeah, Spartans, we're back at it again for more of the greatness known as Halo content. What's the crack, lads and ladies around the feckin' world? My name is DBGeek, and today we're going to be checking out a lore video. A lore video that has been put together by the great Hidden Xperia. If you don't know who Hidden Xperia is, go check him out. He heavily dedicates his channel to Halo content and delves really deep into the lore of the Halo universe. So definitely go check him out, and I will be checking out more of his videos, and I hope he is okay with me reacting to one of these videos that seriously has caught my interest. Now, this video has been brought to light to me by my dude Mark's Top List, so shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for always constantly providing the great goodness for me to check out. And we're going to be checking out something very, very interesting, and it is about a specific elite that was hunting down Master Chief during Halo Combat Evolved. Now, I have no idea what this is and how this is, but apparently there has been an elite that was only 2 steps behind us the whole time in Halo Combat Evolved, who had a personal vendetta, if you will. So I don't know exactly what's going to be expected from this video, but those are the contexts that I've been given about this video, and it has seriously sparked my interest, and I want to know what exactly has happened here, and is there actual truth behind this. Now, if you haven't seen my Halo Combat Evolved videos, I am playing the game. I have completed the game over on Twitch, and the final part will be released as of Saturday, so tune in on Saturday as you will get the final part of Halo Combat Evolved where I completed it. But if you want to check out the videos of Halo, go check out this playlist here, which is my entire Halo journey thus far, from checking out the games and checking out the lore videos and also cinematics and live actions as well. So it's a great playlist to join me, and it's in chronological order as well. Anyway, enough of the rambling shite. It is time to check out this video. If you guys are excited, make sure you leave a like here on my video. It'd mean the world to me. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're chasing massive goals this year, and I hope we receive them. And also check out Hidden Xperia. I've also linked his channel down below as well. If you love Halo content, you will love Hidden Xperia. Anyway, that being said, let's go check out this video. Here we go. Alright, ladies and gents, here it is. The elite who secretly hunted Master Chief during Halo Combat Evolved. This is an 18-minute long lore video. Show love to Hidden Xperia if you have not already, and let's just dive into it. Here we go. Whoa. Dude, sweet logo. Holy shit, that is awesome. Okay.
Hey guys, welcome back. What if I told you that during the entire campaign of Halo Combat Evolved, you were secretly being stalked? What if I told you that there was an elite with a personal vendetta and will to assassinate you, who at all times was only 1 step behind you?
That would be crazy.
What if I told you that many of the enemy encounters that you faced during the campaign weren't random? In fact, they were orchestrated, traps set up by this elite to assassinate you. What if I told you that this elite is one of the few and easily most significant named Covenant characters in the entire game, and that we even fought him? What if I told you that this elite had a pet grunt? What if I told you that I'm gonna stop saying what if I told you and get on with the video?
Yeah.
That's right, folks. Today we are taking a look at the divine operations of one Zuka Zamamee, an elite spec ops officer who received personal blessings by the prophets to carry out his duties and seek revenge on the demon.
No way, this is actually insane. Hidden Xperia, fill me with your knowledge, bro.
He led a small battle group of grunts into the ship, where he initially encountered Chief and Cortana trying to escape. Realizing this was one of the heretical demons, Zuka was quick to engage, but Chief was even quicker to retaliate, shooting the elite in the face with his magnum. The 12.7mm round went straight through the elite's visor, but only managed to skim his head before coming to a stop at the back of his helmet, knocking him clean out. As I'm sure you can imagine, in his absence, all of his grunts were also massacred. Poor guys. As Keys took the Autumn on a one-way trip down to the ring and the chaos on it continued to ensue, Zamamee just lay there, unconscious. But his story was not over yet. A group of grunts, timid and afraid of meeting their end on this demon ship, stumbled across his body. Initially hesitant to save him, their leader, one Yayap, realized that if they were to escort him to safety on a lifeboat, they could not only avoid combat, but also their inevitable death. So, Yayap, along with the 4 other grunts in his squad, each grabbed a limb and dragged Zuka Zamamee to safety. However, little did Yayap know, in avoiding this battle, he just signed his own grunty death warrant.
Shit.
When Zuka eventually awoke, he honoured the grunt with the role of his new assistant, considering that his previous one was unfortunately massacred on board the Autumn. Now, being a Spec Ops officer blessed personally by the prophets, Zuka was relentless. He was essentially a fanatic, awarded his rank for his limitless willingness to risk not only his own life, but that of his squad as well to further the great journey. And yet, Yayap had no choice but to accept the offer, and with one of Halo's most prominent iconic duos now formed, Zuka let Yayap in on his plan to seek revenge on the demon who wounded him. He told the grunt that he believed the human who wounded him was such a capable warrior that he poses not only a threat to himself, but also to the entire battle group, and that if the records were to be believed, he may very well be a demon solely responsible for the death of thousands of holy warriors. However, he vowed that these would be this demon's final days. He met with the Council of Masters on board the Truth and Reconciliation and proposed his plan to hunt and kill this warrior before any more holy blood could be spilt. Now, initially the council were actually split. Soharolami, an elite aristocrat, turned down the idea, but after the demon's successful raid of the ship and saving Captain Keyes, his tune very quickly changed, and the council blessed Zuka to carry out this holy mission.
Jesus!
But before Zuka's divine mission begins, his first attempt at revenge was the following day at the Silent Cartographer. Inside the Cartographer Security Center, he stationed 2 hunters and a squad of grunts under Yayap's command, ready to ambush Chief when he ventured into the dark facility. But the grunts ended up proving a total liability. One of them, going by the name of Linglin, even went so far as to accidentally fire an overcharged plasma pistol into the back of a hunter, instantly killing it and letting Chief overwhelm the ambush team. He slaughtered the grunts and also the last hunter.
This guy kills hunters like a freaking
and then
pro.
made his way through the facility as Zuka and Yayap hid in a cargo pod. This marked their first failure, something the council would not take lightly. When he reported back to them, he was given one last attempt before he was gravely punished for his failures. The Prophet of Stewardship, a lead member of the council, even brandished the decapitated head of the aristocrat, Rolami, beheaded for his failure to prevent the flood outbreak on the ring. This was the true price that Zuka would pay should he fail once more. So, he changed up his game plan. Instead of laying traps, he decided to conduct an infiltration mission. He arranged for Yayap to be captured by the humans and taken to their primary base of operations on the ring, Alpha Base, so he could then alert the elite of Chief's arrival there so the invasion could begin. To ensure that his capture was as authentic as possible, Yayap was beaten up and left bloody and bruised next to a destroyed ghost, and also given a fitting cover story should he be interrogated. After about 5 hours of just lying there waiting for something that he wasn't even sure would happen, he heard and then smelt approaching humans. They checked him over for fatal injuries and then hogtied the poor little bastard and put him in the back of a warthog en route to Alpha Base. Meanwhile, Zuka
poor
was
little
watching
guy
from the shadows, pretty pleased with himself. The first part of his plan had succeeded. The base's invasion and the death of the demon were now inevitable. Some hours later, in the dead of night, a mysterious transmission came into Alpha Base from a Pelican, Charlie 217. Now, what made this transition mysterious was that Charlie 217 had been missing in action since the Autumn crashed on the ring 2 days prior. Doubting the transmission's legitimacy, Alpha requested Charlie's pilot identify their name, rank, and serial number. First Lieutenant Rick Hale, serial number 876-544-321. It seemed entirely legit, but just to make sure, the base was put on high alert, and a reaction force was sent to Landing Pad 3 to greet Charlie 217 as a precautionary measure. If only they knew what Charlie 217 was really harboring.
Oh,
Once Rick
crap.
concluded his transmission
This
and
is
turned off his
crazy.
mic, he turned to his co-pilot,
Jesus.
Zuka Zamamee. When the autumn had come down, the crew of the 217 had been captured by the Covenant, and to get into the base, he'd been used as a decoy by Zuka to trick the humans. And it had worked. So far, his plan was working almost flawlessly. In a seeming out-of-character moment for a Covenant fanatic such as himself, he actually told Hale that he'd done a good job and thanked him, which in itself would have been a pretty worrying sign to the lieutenant, before dropping a green circle of light around his neck. Before Rick could react to what it was, Zuka pulled 2 handles on either side of the circle, which tightened a sharp wire around the pilot's neck. This contraption was an energy garrote, and he held it tightly around his neck until the pilot stopped kicking. And when he did, a strange foul stench emanated from his body. He'd soiled himself. Lovely.
Oh, God.
Zuka then went into the cargo bay to brief his squad. A squad of 30 Spec Ops elites, all armed with active camouflage units and weapons, and trained for infiltration. Their job? To capture 6 Pelican landing pads in the base and hold them until Covenant reinforcements could arrive. Before they landed, though, and before their mission began,
cinematics are just
Zuka told them to remember this moment, that this battle, this victory, is one that will be woven into their family's battle poems, to be sung by generations to come. He told them that the prophets had blessed this mission and that they'd blessed them personally, and that those who transcend the physical will be welcomed into paradise. And with that, the Pelican touched down on landing pad 3, and the invasion was ready to begin. Yayap listened from his cell 3 levels down as the battle begun. 6 hours prior, he'd activated his transponder, indicating
Halo
a
arcade game
in the base. This, however, wasn't the be-all, end-all. Yayap was convinced that Chief had left the base before the invasion began, which was actually correct, but nevertheless, Zamamee came to free him and asked him where the demon was, and he lied, saying that he was guarding the banshees the humans had stolen. However, by this point, the invasion of the base was not going as planned. Zamamee had been monitoring the command net, keeping close tabs on how it was going, and the humans were putting up a much more relentless defense than he'd expected. On their way to the Banshees, Zuka's plasma rifle overheated with a squad of Marines pushing on his position. He had a brief moment of almost assurance, knowing that this was the moment that he'd die. But at the last second, Yayap tossed a plasma grenade which stuck one of the Marines and decimated the entire squad, saving the elite.
Whoa.
With no time to thank him, they kept moving until they reached the Banshees, where it turned out they were entirely unguarded. This sent Zuka into a fit of rage, threatening to kill Yayap for lying to him. But Yayap, mustering all of his grunty courage, actually aimed his plasma pistol at the elite's head and explained that he had no idea personally how to fly a Banshee, but he knew that Zuka did, and with how badly the invasion was going and also how much he didn't want to die, he proposed that the two just flee for their lives. Now, normally this is something that Zuka would have absolutely just not tolerated. It was one of the most dishonorable things that was ever possible. He probably would have just executed Yayap right there and then in most situations. But this wasn't most situations. He knew full well that if he went back to the council with another failure under his belt, they would have had his head. So he had no choice but to comply. And the
Hold on by his entrails.
The Banshee and fled the battlefield.
What?
However,
they
could only remain on the run from the Covenant for so long. They needed food, water, and most importantly, methane. And the only place they could get those supplies was a Covenant camp, the closest of which happened to be at the crash site of the Pillar of Autumn.
Wow.
So they decided to undertake the identities of warriors that died at Alpha Base and pretend to have been captured by the humans, but managed to escape so they could easily integrate themselves into the camp without anyone realizing that Zuka was essentially a dishonorable elite who fled the battlefield and who the council would more than likely execute for such a thing. However, much to the content of both Zuka and Yayap, Yayap's plan worked flawlessly, and the two began undertaking tasks for the commander at the camp until something absolutely monumental occurred. The demon arrived at the ship. They were already having trouble with the flood finding new ways to constantly break into the ship, but now the demon had arrived. The commander was getting increasingly confused,
how he keeps calling him the
frustrated,
demon.
and more so than anything, secretly frightened. He needed rid of this threat, and when he proposed that one of his elites hunt him down, Zamamee was the first to offer, and within minutes he'd left the briefing and the hunt was on. He ordered Yayap to remain in the communication center so he could provide him with all the necessary information to hunt down the Spartan, which was really a blessing in disguise for the grunt. The furthest he could be away from the combat, the better. The plan was for Yayap to find out where the Spartan was going to be heading next, as opposed to discovering his current location, so that then Zuka could lay a trap. Now, it didn't work first time, but I guess second time's the charm, right? When Yayap heard that Chief was going to be leaving the ship via lift V-1269, he immediately let Zuka know, suddenly feeling a strange sense of affection towards the elite. After thanking him, Yayap told him to be careful before ending the call, knowing full well that would more than likely be the last time he'd ever speak to the elite. Considering what the two had been through, that's kind of a sad thought.
Yeah, it is.
The state of the Covenant and the ship rapidly deteriorating, the grunt snuck out of the command office and loaded a day's worth of food and a tank of methane onto a ghost before driving away from the autumn into the sunset, feeling for the first time a true sense of peace, and for the first time in days, feeling genuinely happy. How wholesome. Anyways, back on the ship, Cortana called up the exact service elevator that Yayap had predicted, and as it reached the top, Chief was greeted by Zamamee, mounted on a shade turret alongside a squad of grunts. Although initially the fight looked to be vastly in Zamamee's favour, the tide quickly turned. Cortana very sharply dropped the elevator, sending it into a free fall, and Chief followed up by rolling a few grenades down the shaft. As he fell, the grenades launched Zamamee out of the shade before hitting the floor, snapping his spine and killing him instantly, with the last thing he saw before death being the demon. And there marks the end of Zuka Zamamee. Later on, when Chief blasted out of the hangar bay of the Autumn in a longsword, Yayap watched as the human ship began to explode, knowing his time had finally come. On the bright side, I guess, at least before he was engulfed in flame and ejected into space, Yayap got to experience a sense of peace and happiness just one more time. And that is the story of Zuka Zamamee and Yayap, who tried time after time and failed time after time to kill you during Halo Combat Evolved. Now, it is worth noting that the final battle between Zuka and Chief was maybe a little bit more underwhelming in the games than in the book, because in the book, Zuka really had Chief pinned in the shade, but in the game, 9 times out of 10, you just nuke him with a nade as soon as the elevator doors open.
That's actually so sad.
I will say though, rereading this story for this video did give me a newfound appreciation for Zuka and also Yayap as well. And honestly, this might sound really weird, but I did feel kind of sorry for him in the end. Especially when Yayap said that he felt a small bit of affection towards him, because at the end of the day, the two had been through absolute hell to try and accomplish a mission, and they were both pretty much tunnel visioned, Zuka on Chief and Yayap on just surviving, and despite all their efforts, they both failed. You know what, let's pour one out and put an F in the comments for both Zuka and Yayap. Gone.
F for Yuka, F for Yayap. Oh my god.
So that's all for today. If you can wipe the tears from your eyes, then maybe consider leaving a like, and if you haven't yet, then maybe subscribe and hit that cursed bell that YouTube makes us hit for reasons that I don't think I need to go into. Thanks once again to Raycon for sponsoring this video. With all
great
the
job, Hidden Xperia. So that ends the story of Zuka and Yayap, the elite that had a mission to take down the demon and failed time and time again. Whoa, I mean, you know, this is the kind of stuff that I appreciate in anything, whether it's video games, TV shows, movies, whatever, when there is more source material and hidden lore that you will not find unless you dig and find it. You know, I just love that. I love all of that. I mean, it just adds so much more meaning to things that had just been brushed over. Like you said, in the game, when you come across Yayap, it's the most underwhelming fight of all time. You can just nuke them with a freaking rocket launcher and that's it. And it's over. But in the books, it's so much more heated. It's so much more balanced. The fight was just neck and neck. And having Chief actually being pinned down by Elite, it's pretty crazy. But to know that this was actually happening in the background throughout your entire journey of Halo Combat Evolved is pretty damn insane. It just goes to show, yes, in the game, they're fodder. They're disposable. They're just enemies to shoot and kill. But there's stories. There's always a story. There's always like somebody else that stands out from everyone that you've been shooting and have been trying time and time again. And I just love that. I love how this Elite had this mission and this personal vendetta against the Chief and what had nothing on his mind but to kill him, but failed. And always having to report back to the council. And anytime he'd report back, he was getting one step closer to death. You know, execution. Like the worst of the worst. And there was that moment where he failed yet again and he could not face the council one more time because he knew it was his definite end. So he fled. He fled. And then just the sheer irony of it, the place that he fled to was the place where Master Chief was going. And that was it. That was the end. And it's so sad. It is sad. And I always say it, like, I don't know who is the good or bad guys in the world of Halo. Because yes, you feel sorry for the Spartans. You know they're fighting for their race and they're fighting for humanity. And, you know, their mission is almost an impossible one. It's always as if they're losing and the odds are against them. And that's why you always kind of go for the underdog. That is the Spartans in this war and in this fight. But then you have to see things from the Elite's perspective, and you know they all have their own stories and they fight with honor and they seem like they fight for the right reasons, and maybe they've been, you know, led in the wrong path. And you know, it's just so hard not to feel sorry for them because they have a character, and it's not something that you do normally see in video games. You know, usually when it comes to antagonists or the opposing army, they're just disposable and they're the bad guys and that's all you see them as. But in the Halo world, I feel like the Elites, the Covenant, yeah, they're a mixture of different races, but they all fight for their own reasons and they all fight for their own races. And they seem a little bit more barbaric and a bit brutal at times, but that's just who they are and what their race is about. And I love the fact that they genuinely do have personalities and they do have stories and they do have things to fight for, like family and honor. And it's hard to see them as bad guys completely when this is the kind of stuff that they give off. So all of these hidden stories and stuff that's happening in the background of the Halo story itself, it's pretty crazy. Like, to the Elite, Master Chief is a demon. He's a freaking monster. He's somebody that's killing all of these Covenant without hesitation, killing the Elite like they're nothing, like fodder, disposing of them. You got to think of it from that perspective. If it's us and there was a threat on our humanity and it's this monster that's just killing everything in its path, you would immediately think it's a demon, like it's a monster, it's something that should be disposed of. And that's how the Elite see Master Chief. You know, they see him as this demon, this vile monster, this killing machine. And that's kind of scary to think of, you know? to know to flee and to finally get that taste of freedom, and then to know that Master Chief is on board, the demon is on board, and you're about to meet your end. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So shout out again to Hidden Xperia for this awesome lore video. That was so good. You know, I really need to read up on this stuff. Once I finish with the games, I will read into the books because the games already blow me away. Like, we're playing Halo 2. A lot of people have told me that I'm already halfway through Halo 2, and it's actually blowing my mind. It really is. So once we complete the games, we'll dive into some more lore stuff. Most likely going to be in my spare time, but I will definitely collect the books because I want to know these stories. I want to know that, and then it just gives you a reason to play through the game again. You know, like kind of way when you find these stories and this source material and, you know, background stories that are happening between characters that don't seem to have that much of a, I want to say, significance in the games, but they do in the books. You want to go back through the games and see if there's anything that you can spot out that has been placed in the games that has a connection with those stories. So I definitely will check out the books because This has already sparked my interest. And there's more lore videos coming, lads. So we're going to be checking out some flood lore videos, which is something that I really, really like. Also hate. It's a love-hate thing. I hate the flood, but I like the flood. I love the concept of the flood, but I fucking hate fighting the flood. But, you know, I'm sure you guys can relate. But anyway, that is my reaction to Hidden Xperi's amazing video about the elite that chased or tried to hunt down Master Chief during Halo Combat Evolved. I'll leave a link to his video down below in the description, and make sure you do subscribe to his channel as well. What a great dude and fantastic video. Good job, man. Really good job. And I hope you guys enjoyed my video as well. And show me love by hitting the like and subscribing here as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, dudes. And as always, stay geeky, stay cool, be awesome, and be happy. And I'll see you, dudes, in my next Halo video. See you later, dudes.